Why do people do the things that they do? Why do some people become firefighters and others arsonists? Why do particular people fall in love? Why do some people become doctors while others become killers? These are the questions at the beginning of Denise Kemp and Javier Rodriguez's absolute Martian Manhunter, and in many ways, these have always been the questions at the core of the Martian since his early I can't believe it's not Superman days. Back when his powers were this unbelievably goofy shit like turning water into gold or doing mind control on a baseball to befuddle some would-be mobsters trying to fix a baseball game. The OG Silver Age Martian Manhunter is very unserious and indicative of the era it was made in. Plots resolve in the most ass-pull ways imaginable, and his powers sound like something a kid would make up on the playground trying to come up with the coolest sounding superhero ever. That goofy Deus Ex Calum, if you will, is what attracted the character to Denise Kemp when the time came for him to do something for DC's absolute universe. A new wholesale reimagining of DC superheroes in a more sinister world, one which robs them of most of the privileges that let them be heroes. The Martian Manhunter used to be an all-powerful alien detective from Mars. Now, he's two people. One is John Jones, an emotionally detached FBI agent who works in the Stochastic Crimes Task Force.
Stochastic means random,
Which is to say that his job is looking busy at crime scenes and typing the words "he was on our radar" in press releases and one of their honey traps pops off and kills somebody. The other is the Martian, or Marty, an alien from a world so far away that measuring it in distance doesn't make sense. He's a supernatural entity. Like the thoughts in Harry Dubois' head, a synthesis of empathy, shivers, and conceptualization, capable of reading thoughts, transcending matter, inducing mental states of his choosing, and manifesting metaphor as physical reality.
What happens in your head also happens.
The twain meet in a coffee shop when the Martian saves John Jones' life from a suicide bomber. What should have been a fatal encounter leaves him with a few scratches, a concussion, and a new extraterrestrial friend living in his head, and he's messing with how he sees the world. Now he can tell that his attending physician knows that his wife is cheating on him, but he doesn't know what to do about it, poor guy. He still loves her. Or that the doctor he sees for a second opinion is overworked and close to a mental breakdown. People's thoughts appear to him in these clouds of multicolored smoke. He breathes them in and he can see all of their internal lives. When he's interviewing the bomber's mother, he sees this smoke coming out of her ears and he breathes it in. He can see her son's first day of school and the flowers he got for her birthday. Everywhere he goes now, he can see everyone's thought smoke, their lives pluming from them in psychedelic strands, and through the blaze of smoke, he sees the owner of the voice he's been hearing in his head all day, the source of his newfound sonder. He sees the Martian. The story that ensues is a true detective-style romp through the city of Middleton, expressed here as the grounds of psychological warfare between Marty and his longtime nemesis, the White Martian. The latter is an agent of chaos, nihilism, and irony.
Irony is a corrosive force.
The former, a purveyor of love, harmony, empathy. This psychological warfare takes place in a near episodic fashion, each mini-saga with its own twist on the metaphor of the other expressed through this sick-looking one-eyed alien. This is where Denise Kemp's greatest strength as a writer comes through. Kemp's work has always felt poetic, and this character, with his endless list of reality-altering power, lets him really flex that muscle. His metaphors bleed in and out of each other, and the Martian constructs words as if he's working backwards from some multi-dimensional form of communication, one which words are obsolete, and he's dumbing it down to something that we humans can understand, oscillating rapidly between Thomas Pynchon and a 5-year-old child. From the beginning of the comic, things are flowing in a strange, dreamlike order, but they don't get mind-bending just yet. They have to ease you in a little bit, establish a baseline. The first story features a repurposed Trigger Tom Taylor, a schmuck from the old Silver Age detective comics who gets owned in a single panel, who is now given more depth and a new, more sinister profile here in the 21st century. While John is struggling to come to terms with the fact that aliens are real and that there really is a psychic war happening that he's just been conscripted to fight, the White Martian takes control of Trigger, a schizotypal kid with a fixation on aliens and UAPs, and exacerbates his schizophrenia, creating a racist delusion, an us versus them complex.
Bad idea number 2894. The everywhere, everyone, everything enemy.
He's been fed a view of non-Anglo people as literal aliens, body snatchers wearing human faces, human skin. Most of the time they get the color wrong. They try to speak our language but it comes out funny. He goes into Little Damascus, a place filled with Syrian immigrants, and brandishes his AR-15 and starts firing indiscriminately. Our heroes get there and try to defuse the situation. Using the shooter's memories, John pretends to be his long-lost friend, while the Martian tries to defuse the delusion hallucination that's made him a violent killer. The moment he's cured of the bug in his brain, before he can fully grasp what he's done, a police officer opens fire on him. Childhood baseball games, myriad hours of television, friends, family, hunting trips, fantastical dreams, memories, thoughts pour out of his head in the psychedelic pink mist that flows from the bullet as it exits his skull.
What happens in your head also happens.
Martian Manhunter as a character has always been kind of a niche B2C tier hero. Despite being one of the original 7 in the Justice League, like I'm sure he has his fans, like no normal person saw the Snyder 4-hour Nightmare movie and popped off when they saw Ja'on's tacked on at the end. Odds are, if you're watching this, then you probably know Martian Manhunter from Solid JJ's YouTube videos and maybe the cartoon. There's probably some comic book freaks in here, no doubt about that. So, for the rest of the normal people, he might need a bit of an introduction. The character was created by scientist turned Pulp Fiction writer turned comics writer Joseph Samixon. His original 50s era run, as you'd expect, is an extremely corny hero for an extremely corny time, due in no small part to the Comics Code Authority making sure that nothing quote-unquote mature would ever end up in mass market comics. Martian Manhunter was first introduced as a scientist from Mars summoned here to Earth by Dr. Erdell's robot brain of the future. The elderly Dr. Erdell sees this and is so shocked that his heart gives out, stranding the Martian on Earth until his home planet can fix their space machine and get him home. In the meantime, he busies himself by solving our backward and antiquated problems of crime and evil, shit that they figured out centuries ago on Mars apparently. Reading this, it's easy to see the golden thread that Denise was tugging at that led him to absolute Martian Manhunter. The Martian's powers here are vague enough that he can do kinda whatever the story needs him to. He's like Green Superman if he was spared the need to convince the average American that they are a good person. Being an outsider with the power to actually really communicate with everyone. He's a really good vehicle through which a writer can comment on society and humanity at large. So Denise, stripping him of that and making him human is actually genius, because by doing that, he's no longer an outsider looking in, he's an alienated member of society finally looking around and understanding his fellow man for the first time. He's breathing deep his life. Absolute Martian Manhunter is the most out there of all the Absolute comics, and part of why this is the case is the lethal combination of Denise Camp on words and Javier Rodriguez on pictures. To understand why this story has so much sauce is to understand these guys as writer and artist. Denise Camp is a Turkish-Filipino comics writer with some real strong character writing and some real big cajones. The first thing I ever saw of this dude wasn't even from a comic. It was him on Twitter telling the right-wing pussies sending him death threats to make more convincing death threats because the guns they were threatening his family with were obviously pictures they lifted from Google Images. That's a really good first impression. The first comic of his that I read was also incredible. Fuck, 20th Century Man is so fucking good, man. It's a story about what the Soviet-Afghan war would look like if superheroes were real, and how they would change our world and politics and history. His version of Vietnam was fought by an American beastman robot who eats people. And the leader of the armed forces propping up the then collapsing socialist government of Afghanistan is a transhuman super scientist, a scary looking Russian guy in a super suit with a radioactive heart.
A 20th century heart for a 20th century man.
A literal practitioner of the immortal science. Not since Naoki Urasawa's Billy Bat have I felt so strongly that a comic was written specifically for me. Like, I love reading about the Soviet-Afghan war. It is one of my favorite wars. It is responsible for some of my favorite artifacts. 20th Century Man is a beautiful story that doesn't use the soups in its world to escape the real politics of the wars that happened in it. Powers or no powers, those Soviet boys are still going back home in zinc-plated coffins just like the real ones did.
There are always zinky boys.
I will make a 20th Century Man video one day and that shit will be 2 hours long, but right here, right now, for the purposes of understanding his work better, we need to look at Assorted Crisis Events, his indie comic that exists in a kind of symbiosis with Absolute Marty. Assorted Crisis Events is basically, what is it like living in one of those superhero crossover world ending crises, but as a normal person. It's an anthology series following regular people as their lives fall apart in a protracted multiversal apocalypse. Each story is self-contained and tinged with its own unique kind of sadness. Time is wrong and it is affecting people the wrong way. A girl is trapped in a repeating loop of her greatest trauma, forced to repeat it over and over and over again. A man watches his life literally slip between his fingers, like someone is cutting chunks away from the timeline of his life, so the events just kinda skip all over the place. The population of a town is teleported to an alternate reality where the apocalypse never happened and they are subjected to the kind of horrific treatment normally reserved for immigrants by the mirror versions of themselves. It was reading Assorted Crisis Events that I really got why he chose Martian Manhunter as his contribution to the Absolute Universe.
So, before it was approved, Scott first told me that the big 5 were all taken. So he wanted to know if there was any DC character that I had a pitch for. And I took some time and I wrote something up and I just sent it to him. You have to just go as big as you can. And as long as it's true to the character and true to the story you're trying to tell, you just go for it. And I've never thought to do anything else. Like the Children of the Vault book, that was my first pitch. Martian Manhunter is my first pitch.
Javier Rodriguez is a Spanish artist. Most of his career was as a colorist and a cover page guy, but with time he got into the pages themselves. When he got the chance, he went beast mode on a Harley Quinn comic and he hasn't stopped since. His work is very clean. There isn't a single line that is out of place. This makes it so that when he creates these dense layouts full of intricate details all blending into each other, it's all still legible. It's one of those things that sounds really easy until you actually start drawing and realize just how hard it is to do without coming off as flat or boring. Like, looking at his work, I'm reminded of Will Eisner and Mobius, especially Mobius. The simple lines compounding into these intricate rendered tapestries is the kind of shit I live for real. His work on Mariko Tamaki's Zatanna comic is the exact same kind of good you see in Absolute Martian Manhunter, and that is probably the art that Denise put in his pitch to Scott Snyder for the book. He said it himself, this book would not be worth doing if it wasn't with Javier. Not just someone like him, it was Javier or nothing, and man was he right. This would have probably banged if it was like a regular book, like a novel. The problem with abstract writing in books is that it's very easy to get lost or to have the image being painted struggle to materialize, especially if you're a slow reader like me. But visuals let you put those ideas in focus more easily by eliminating that tiny distance between the reader and the artist. These two have the kind of artist relationship that I long for. Camp isn't treating his artist like a serf in the way that Tom King does. There's an interplay of ideas and the finished product feels as much Denise Camp's as it does Javier Rodriguez's. When Javi designed The Martian, he wanted something truly unlike anything anybody had seen in the comics, so instead of drawing him out the way you normally would, he sculpted him physically with Play-Doh and then worked out how to present him in two-dimensional space, and the result was something that looks like one of those Hilux NPCs. One of my favorite parts of the story comes in the last pages of the first issue, when John and the Martian first merge, and you don't see the drawing of the Martian dissolved on John's face like I'm doing here, I'm superimposing it. Instead, Javi pitched it as being 2 pages back to back, with the latter reversed so that when you put it up to the sun, it would literally shine through the page and double expose the drawings, creating the effect in real life. These are the kinds of things you can only ever accomplish through comics. It is in the spirit of collaboration between these two guys that you can get ideas like this. He's not dictating it, they are each putting themselves into this product and the result is beautiful and unique. That's collaboration, baby. That's art. I love being on the side of art. I will never kill myself.
Don't give up on your principles. Don't give up on your principles. Not for some short-term gain. Because this is a long-term existence. There's more to life than life itself. Don't give up on your principles.
I think of myself as an atmosphere creator.
Disassociating that.
Seeing how the supernatural elements impact the lives of real people in assorted crisis events makes a lot of Absolute Martian Manhunter make a lot more sense. Denise is maybe the only person who can say something like this and not come off like a pretentious asshole, because if you've read any of his comics, you know that he's being for real. Absolute Martian Manhunter is a psychedelic love story, but instead of a singular romantic love, it is a deep, overwhelming love for all things. Thomas Pynchon's influence is all over this book. John Jones feels like a slightly more put together Doc Sportello, the protagonist of his 2009 novel Inherent Vice, and his quasi-psychedelic experiences remind me of Dr. Hilarious and Mucho Mas from The Crying of Lot 49, with one important difference. Earlier in this video, I described John Jones' trips as non-solipsistic psychedelic experiences, which means psychedelia without the selfishness masquerading as religious revelation. Because real psychedelics, contrary to what many a hippie will tell you, do not expand your consciousness. The hippies weren't transcending the confines of their minds, they were wallowing in their altered subjectivity. Timothy Leary was to LSD what the Grateful Dead were to weed, a clinical psychologist who studied the effects of shrooms at Harvard, who in the early 60s came in contact with an English conman and suicidal burnout named Michael Hollingshead. Hollingshead, who after telling Leary that he had no place to go and was thinking about killing himself, introduced him and some friends to LSD by putting them on just insanely high doses. He gave Leary a tablespoon of that shit as a first dose. His reports of this maiden voyage are very telling. He reported seeing his life being performed by puppets, everything in miniature. His daughter is a puppet and so is his son, and they're caught in this infinite repeating loop of, "Hi dad, how was work? Hi kids, how was school?" It was okay. It's all very shallow and meaningless as he sees it. He reports being disgusted by how hollow it all felt. Instead of the merging of their souls, quote unquote, the chance to really know each other, they are stuck in these loops that mean nothing and are chipping away at their actual lives. This experience, prompted Leary to upend his life and dedicate himself to psychedelics as both a tool for therapy and a philosophical catalyst and way of life. Both of these are moronic, but the latter far more than the former. First, going back to that trip, it is worth mentioning that Leary's wife had taken her own life a few years prior, leaving him to take care of their 2 children. This stress could no doubt leave him feeling that he was not communicating with his children meaningfully, that there was something standing between him and them, muddling the words meant to communicate his deep love for them. What parent worth a damn doesn't worry that they're not loving their children the right way? It is a reasonable anxiety to have, but instead of confronting it, he took a heroic dose of acid and had that anxiety reflected back at him as the chemicals flashbanged him with endlessly geometric interpolations of his own mind, and mistook that for the fundamental truth of the universe. I can't think of anything more narcissistic than that, and it's that kind of narcissism that was endemic throughout the hippie movement. Timothy Leary's turn on, tune in, drop out is the kind of behavior of someone who believes that the corporeal world is beneath them. You listen to this guy talk in his interviews and it's no wonder that the hippies were so fucking stupid. I look at the photo of that one girl with the flower and the barrel of the soldier's gun and feel angry. These assholes thought they were achieving something. They thought they could bring a new world into existence if they believed it hard enough without doing anything else. Action was beneath them. They were too good for that. Imagine thinking you were too good to get your hands dirty in an era where the world still had its color. All that free love shit was a novel way to get pussy, and that's fine. It's the part where they pretend that it was more meaningful than that where it starts to bother me. Most criticism of the hippies is right-wing reactionary dog shit about the Manson murders or petite bourgeois pocket watching, and that is especially frustrating because they deserve to be made fun of, to feel stupid because they were doing all this stupid drugged out shit during such a crucial time, a time when they very well could have shifted the grand machine of history off its axis even if just a little bit for their kin. Is one of the first world's greatest failures. Imagine existing in the same era as the Panthers and Fanon and doing this with it. The baby boomers are a generation of fucking failures and no one understands this better than Thomas Pynchon. Pynchon is a real strange dude. He was a math genius, one of those whiz kids who went to college at 16. He studied physics at Cornell, dropped out to join the Navy, and then came back to Cornell, this time to study English literature. His first real job, that wasn't being on a Navy vessel with a virgin asshole, was being a technical writer for Boeing, the largest military contractor in the world. After that, he spent his life writing strange books for strange people, many of which I love deeply, but for today's program we're mainly concerned with 2 of his works, 2009's Inherent Vice and 1965's The Crying of Lot 49. The Crying of Lot 49 is about one Oedipa Maas, the wife of a former car salesman turned radio DJ who finds out one day that her millionaire ex-boyfriend is not only dead, but has named her as co-executor of her will, leaving her with the Herculean task of sorting, categorizing, and doling out all the fruits of his vast estate, an estate whose contents lead her down a rabbit hole of conspiracy involving a centuries-old clandestine mail-carrying service called Trastero and its modern incarnation, WASTE, which is used secretly by everyone from perverted defense contractors to homeless people to John Birch Society-style white nationalists and Mexican anarchists. After learning about the secret mail service, she starts seeing its muted horn symbol everywhere. Its mentions appear on the billboards, in lyrics of songs children sing when they play, in typos of letters that her husband sends her. This is the quintessential conspiracy novel. It lives in that microfiber thin line between paranoia and knowledge. What is paranoia if not knowledge without social sanction? I mean, Project Paperclip was once a paranoid conspiracy. So was MK Ultra. Now, both of these things are not only normal, they fall into the kind of dying party small talk that includes Ozzy Osbourne's diet of bats and John Lennon's non-consensual boxing matches with his wife. But in the 60s, when both of these conspiracies were still happening, all very real and new and horrible, Pynchon was writing about them in ways that a person couldn't if he didn't have some kind of insider information. Near the end of the book, Oedipus psychiatrist Dr. Hilarious is taken by a bout of paranoia and is convinced that he's about to get Adolf Eichmann because he is a Nazi. He ran experiments at the Buchenwald concentration camps. He's still running experiments in the United States involving LSD, the origin of which is not specified, but like, come on. One of his subjects, Oedipa comes to find out, was her husband. She said no to him many times when he asked her to join, so it makes sense that he'd expand his program. Now, her husband, a guy who was so haunted by how his old job destroyed people's lives he couldn't sleep, is now a groovy vibrations piece to the earth mother type dude. In an effort to escape the nightmares of the bloodless violence that structure our daily lives, he fled into that psychedelic introspective narcissism. You can hear it in the little speech he gives Oedipa when he describes the revelation the acid gave him.
When those kids sing about "she loves you," yeah, well, you know, she does. She's any number of people all over the world, back through time, different colors, sizes, ages, shapes, distances from death. But she loves, and the you is everybody.
When I heard this, I was instantly reminded of the scene in issue number 6 of Absolute Martian Manhunter where John shares his Martian vision with everyone else. The line about she is all of us different colors and shapes and distances from death. I feel deep in my soul that Denise must have read that and went, okay, sure. Lost in the everlasting candy house that is his mind, groping like a child and so forth. But what if all that was true? What if... A key feature in Pynchon's writing is that you never really see the core of the conspiracy. There is a man behind the curtain, yes, but you do not matter enough to meet him. You don't have the necessary clearance. All you see are the tentacles of the conspiracy stretching simultaneously back to the ancient times of its founding to its current horrible form, and that cursory glance is more than enough to destroy your life. They took Oedipa's men, both her husband and her Nazi psychiatrist. They put 20 kilos of heroin in Doc Sportello's car. They made Mark Wolfman's abomination of a construction project happen, the one he destroyed black and Japanese and Latino neighborhoods to build. In his books, you don't have a simple two-dimensional evil you can paste on the monstrosities that roam this world, because those same evil exist here too, in those exact same less funnier forms. The closest we've ever come to nailing them down, at least this latest incarnation of them, the one that isn't based in Tel Aviv, is always something to the tune of technological progress. Go look at the volume of real books compared to AI generated frauds on Amazon, or just the amount of the world economy that isn't just speculation on the financial viability of the trillion-dollar revenge porn machine, and tell me that this shit is progress. I fucking dare you. I don't have the capacity in me for Pynchon's philosophy of keep cool but care. It's all too much. All the time. I wish it would stop. Denise's demons, however, are much easier to quantify and are a lot less depressing as a result. This is still a product for DC Comics at the end of the day. Even before John was Martianed out, he could always tell that something was wrong. This is the case for all Absolute characters, but with him especially, it was more pronounced. He could feel the society-wide accumulation of bad vibes. It wasn't just the evil alien who's chosen tragedy. There's a secret malicious order under all of this darkness. Part of what I think makes the White Martian work so well as an antagonist is that he's already being dropped into a story where the metaphor is the literal and the literal is the metaphorical, and this particular metaphor of light and dark practically writes itself. It works in multiple directions, all at the same time. First as exposure, light equals heat, and the heat makes people do crazy things, flaring at the flames of racial tension. Innocuous bumps in the street become excuses to kill someone where they stand. The lovers quarrel and the children play in the water, and then the other shoe drops. Stochastically, 5 men all attach bombs to their persons and each take out a critical part of the Middleton power grid, and then there's the darkness, the cover of which lets us be our horrible and true selves. The run that Javier Rodriguez and Denise Camp have on issue number 5 and 6 of Absolute Martian Manhunter will be studied for generations to come. You can quote me on that. This is all-timer shit. From the art to the lettering to the writing, my god, the writing. Camp does so much with the metaphor of darkness in these 2 issues, it's genuinely jaw-dropping. I've never seen an artist get this much juice out of a metaphor in so little time. The darkness that exists in all of us, beneath our conscious thought, a charcoal sketch of our perversions, urges and secret pains, our shadow selves. It's like Dr. Hilarious says in The Crying of Lord 49 before the cops get him.
If I'd been a real Nazi, I'd have chosen Jung, nicht wahr? But I chose Freud instead, the Jew.
The concept of the shadow self was coined by Swiss psychiatrist and Nazi collaborator Carl Jung. It is the dark side of your personality, one that you have repressed, denied, or ashamed of. It will influence you subconsciously unless you face it and do necessary work to confront it. This process is called shadow work, and the shadows work overtime in these pages. The darkness influences the people in different ways. Some skulk in the night, letting their dark urges take over, stealing and murdering as much as they see fit. Others grind glass and inject poison into food and then give them away. Others murder dogs for their gratification. The White Martian influence looms larger over the city, but not everyone has hate in their souls. Others chase the light in semi-reverent worship, and others invent new gods over barrel fires like their ancestors did before them in Mejoro and in speakeasies years past. I'm not going to tell you everything that happens here because I want you to go out and read it, but I will say this is the best comic out right now. Not just in comics, like in general. Even if you've never read a single Western comic in your life, even if you're just like a purely manga guy, you owe it to yourself as a person who is on the side of art to read this. If you have any appreciation for the beautiful or the divine in any way that it expresses itself, you deserve to read this. Okay, I do want to talk about the metaphor fight because I've been referencing it tangentially throughout the video. So, in the darkness, among the myriad sick motherfuckers roaming the streets, is one in a clown jacket and a press button killing dogs in the night. As John roams the night stopping people from harming others, he's eventually led back to his own home, where the clown man is phasing through walls trying to get to his wife and child. The fight that ensues between the Clown Man and John and the Martians in their heads, it's so good I don't even want to tell you about it. They're having a philosophical stand battle. It's beautiful. As the Martians tower over the city doing thesis, antithesis, life, death, jujitsu, wrestling in and out of people's heads, putting thoughts of cancer and nuclear holocaust and making them manifest, only for the other to wrangle a cure for said cancer out of those same minds to disable the nuclear bomb. While down here, men kick the shit out of each other. A punch is just a punch. Up there, Martians rearrange the stars and fight in metaphors. Words upon words made manifest, actual poetry in motion. And then, as a Hail Mary, to counteract the fear and sorrow that the white Martian is drawing from the scared crowd, Marty grants his Martian vision to everyone, letting them see each other fully. He tells them to breathe, and so they do. They breathe in each other's sorrows, each other's pain, all their experiences and all of their complexity. Tears fall down their eyes. She loves you, all of you, the royal you, each different colors and sizes and distances from death. I've tried rewriting this like 5 times to fully communicate how beautiful it felt reading it, but
Words fail.
why do people do the things that they do? Why do others become killers and others field medics, others teachers and others child molesters? That is the question, isn't it? Thank you for watching my video. This one was really difficult to write, especially like the abstract parts, and I never read most of Pynchon's books. I never finished them, so it was real fun using this as an excuse to finish those books. I'm probably gonna read Mason and Dixie next year. I'm looking forward to see how I can make an anime video relating that fucking tome of a book to it, but I think it's gonna be fun. If you enjoyed this, you can watch all my other videos. They're equally as nonsensical as this. You can follow me on Instagram at petroleumcoffee_YT, or on Blue Sky as Gasoline Seppuku. Until the next one, which will be very soon. Peace out.